How's it going, everyone? This video in particular is going to elaborate on the levels of the mind. This is information that was probably the most powerful thing for me to come across and for me to learn, but then most people just simply aren't talking about this, especially those that are looking to help educate your children or re-educate yourself. And so that's why this video is going to be very, very valuable for you specifically. Okay, the mind has three different parts: conscious, unconscious, and subconscious. Okay, conscious, unconscious, subconscious. So the point here is information is not just going to change your behavior. Okay, if you know something, that doesn't mean you're going to do something. Most people, they already know what they should be doing. But the problem is where the information is actually being stored within them. So when we're talking about the conscious mind is less than 1% of your brain. It's 0.5% of your brain, the conscious mind. We're thinking consciously, okay? You use logic consciously. You're memorizing things consciously. That short-term learning, conscious, okay? Think about it. When you were in school and you had to take a test, and then you went to take that test, no matter how much studying and flashcards you did, a couple weeks after you took the test, even sometimes right after you took the test, how much did you remember that was on the test? Not a lot, if you're being self-honest, right? So what's the problem? The problem is where the information is being stored, okay? Subconscious and unconscious. So conscious mind, 0.5%. When you're thinking in your brain, you're just running the program. So even if you think, oh, I know what I should do. Oh, I know that I should be doing something different. Or you're reading a book and you think, oh, this is great. I can go apply that. You feel good in the moment because you're exposed to it consciously and it's impacting your feelings. But that doesn't mean that it's just a part of naturally who you are. The part of you that is naturally who you are is within the subconscious and the unconscious. See, the subconscious is 24.5% of your brain, okay? And the unconscious is 75% of your brain. So between the subconscious and the unconscious, we're talking about over 99% of your brain. And that's why people say we run on autopilot, because that conscious mind is just playing out the programming that has been installed within your unconscious and conscious mind. So, how do we impact this? Well, the subconscious mind is going to be where your habits are. You start doing things, getting into routines, conditioning yourself. People talk about like spaced repetition or pattern recognition, just your automatic behaviors. That is important. However, what created you to take those actions and think that that was important in the first place? Your identity. And where is your identity created? Unconscious mind. What were you exposed to 0 to 7 years old? And how did that actually set you up to have communication in your relationships, self-esteem, self-confidence, and your belief in yourself and your ability to learn? For myself and most people, it was very low. When I would read a book, I would read the page, go halfway down. I wouldn't remember what was at the top of the page. I would start to, this is hard. And you just have this resistance. It's because I wasn't effectively supported to have a high self-esteem and to have a high self-level of confidence. But even if I had that, I did not have a high enough vocabulary to effectively execute on that. And so the problem that we face nowadays is when you're memorizing information, you don't actually remember what it is. Think about like the screen of the computer. That's just playing out what's on the program. The screen of your phone is just playing out what's on the program based on the buttons that you're pressing. So you can think and feel, oh, I'm great. I'm doing affirmations. I'm learning how I should direct myself. But then when somebody does something to you in your external environment, when you hear certain words, phrases, when your money in your bank account might get low or you're faced with making a major purchase, you have that feeling inside, you get triggered by the person, you have those reactions, whatever they may be. That's your actual program. So what we're able to do now is to integrate information directly into the unconscious mind so that it's a part of who you are. So that just like the test example that I gave, when you're taking that test and you forget what was on that test, would you rather just continue to memorize information, or would you rather know the information just like you know your name? That's what I wanted for my daughter. That's what I wanted for my son. And that's what I wanted for myself. Because if you think about it, you don't realize the automatic things that are going on in your life unconsciously. Like, if you had to think about breathing in order to live, how long would you live? Probably not that long, right? You get tired, you go to sleep, dead. Yeah, you get a text message on your phone, you're reading it, you're replying back, dead. Those are the automatic things that are running within you. But the ability to direct yourself and to have information stored within that unconscious mind is not what the school system does for us. And even if we're bringing school home and taking information and just simply giving it to the kids at home, different from just giving that information to the kids at school, that doesn't mean that they know it either, just like you know your name. And so now what we're able to do is open up that natural learning ability that we have that is wide open from 0 to 7 years old, that gives the kids the ability to learn everything just like a sponge. And we're able to have that power of the education now at home. So when we're looking at our children, if they're out of the 0 to 7 year age, we got to be able to find where in the foundation are those like missing, cracked, and crumbled bricks. Because we have to be able to repair those so that our children, when they build things in their lives, whether it be a business, whether it be a relationship, whether it be their own self and their skill sets, they need to be able to continue to build without self-sabotaging. They need to be able to effectively execute on what they want to do with a high level of self-esteem and confidence, and not have the self-doubt like I had, or maybe you do. So many people are using substances and drugs and things because we actually feel like we need that to feel better or to do something. And I get it. People want to do their things in their off time and on the weekends, but the point here is not about what you're doing in your personal life. The point here is that what would you want if you could create the best human being? Because that's the question that I had to face when I was looking at bringing my daughter into this world. And then my wife and I had another child. So we're bringing our son into this world that is crazier now than ever. What do I want? I want my child to have an effective vocabulary and a high ability to process information. I want them to be able to know information just like they know their name, just like I know my name, and not have to just be repeating, and beating the horse until it's able to just do the thing. That takes too much time. It takes too much effort. And it's honestly just unnecessary. So the point here is, if you're exposed to something and you've heard it, that's fine. If you understand something, okay, that's fine. But are you automatically doing it? Are you automatically executing on it? Because real learning is being able to integrate the information. Real mastery is to be able to speak without having to think about the words you're using, being able to type without looking at the keyboard, being able to drive without looking at the directions and thinking about where you need to go, being able to read without sounding out the words, okay? Obviously, if you need to use the GPS in your car, you can, but that's not my point here, right? When you're driving home and you don't have to look at the GPS, and maybe you're on your phone when you're driving and it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm home. That's mastery. That's automatic. That's integration. And we don't want our kids to just be thinking about the words they're using because it just takes too much time. The school system did not set us up to be able to have the proper self-image and self-esteem, because it's just simply impossible for the school system to do that. But now we're able to have the true power of education at home so that we can get the information directly into the unconscious, therefore creating a proper habit set and ability to execute on the information through the subconscious. And then what's playing on our screen in the conscious mind is a true proper program of an effective human being that can execute and direct themselves with their own will. And that's what I wanted for my daughter. And that's what I wanted for my son. Same thing for my wife. And so when you're looking at the levels of the mind, conscious, subconscious, unconscious, we got to be able to program that unconscious effectively because that's what's going to allow us to execute on these habits effectively that will then, when we are faced with things, our conscious mind will respond in a way that's best. Will respond in a way that is effective. Will respond in a way to where we don't just take in information, but we're able to have an effective filter because our kids are exposed to a lot of nonsense. We can't really control that. You can if you take them out of school, but then they might see something on a video and you can even monitor your videos, but they might hear something out in public because you can't just keep your kids home all the time, right? So it's like you go out, you're meeting with other people, but they might not have the same perspective. And so your kids might hear something out there. And so what are your kids going to do with that? And what is their level of discernment and their ability to communicate effectively with other kids and with themselves? Okay? And so when you're looking at the levels of the mind, you want your child to be very effective. That means that you have to be able to get the information into the unconscious to create the best program that you can for your child so that they can have the best opportunities in this world that is getting crazier now than ever.